Hey guys, Matt here. Just starting on the second episode of the datsun ute build. 6 o'clock in the morning here on a Saturday. Sitting at my computer. Going to start playing around with some drawing stuff on the ute. So I've taken a rough photo of the front of the chassis rail. This obviously would be a whole lot better if I had done this before I set this front end in there, because it's hiding underneath the suspension, but that's alright. I can should be able to get a rough shape of the chassis rail and kind of just fudge this piece in the middle, which I'm probably going to chop out anyway, so it doesn't really matter, but at least I've got this curve to follow and the thickness, so hopefully it works out. In my photo I just put a couple of pieces of tape on the chassis rail and I've measured between them. I've just done a really poor drawing with a couple of measurements on it. So what you do in this program, so this is Fusion 360, that's what I do all my drawing on, and then convert to a what is it, G file I think they call it. Oh no, convert it into a different file to talk to my plasma table. So what we do here is go into sketches, not sketches, canvases, and I have the 620 front chassis and calibrate. So why I've put these pieces of tape on there is because you can go in here and go to the edge of that and the edge of that, and I've done my measurement and I know that I am 247 between those 2 points, so I can go in here and change this to 247, enter, and it blows it up. Now that technically should be to scale. Obviously, I mean, a photo is probably not the greatest thing. It's probably slightly warped in the way that I've taken the photo. Not 100% sure of exactly how that would work, but so roughly it's not roughly, I measured it with vernier, it's 68 mil. The height of this chassis rail at the front, obviously it thickens at the back, but if I just now go into inspect, I can't actually do that like that, I might have to do a drawing. Right, so that's my canvas, it's just a background you can draw over top of it. So if I now go add sketches and put it on this plane, and I create a point, say there, and a point roughly there, and then I hit D and do a dimension, should be 66, so it's showing that it's about 2 mil out. 66.2, it's pretty close. If I go and add some more, if I just do a line, say, from there to there is 47. It's pretty close. I think it'll be alright. Maybe these points could just slightly move a touch, and it might give me my extra 1.5 mil or something that I need. Like I say, it's pretty rough way of doing it just off a photo, but it kind of gets me close anyway. D for dimension, 67, so that's 1 mil out. It's pretty close. I think it's going to be alright. So yeah, I'll just copy this profile and then give it the thick. I didn't actually write down thickness. I know that the chassis rails are parallel and they're 675 apart, which makes it easy. They don't vary in widths, so that's pretty straightforward to draw that up. So I'll do them now and see what we end up with. So I'm about to just draw up a rough sketch of all my dimensions, suspension, pick up points for the top and bottom arms. I'll draw the hub, ball joint heights and stuff. I guess one of the problems I've got with this, as opposed to some other things that you might be trying to get real low, is because the wheel height is so high. So the hub center is so far off the ground that to get it to low, the arms are on horrific angles. So I don't know whether you can see exactly that top arm is on a massive angle. Bottom arm's not so bad because it's a whole lot longer. So I think one thing I'm going to do is, because this is so far outside the chassis rail anyway, I'm going to make these arms longer, move this mounting point into over top of the chassis rail, which will help the camber gain on bump. If the arms are more similar length, I probably won't come in quite as far as the bottom arm, but I'll come in probably another 50 mil roughly. But also that those 2 points are far too low, even though that's not bad ground clearance, because the wheel's so tall and the hub center is so far up, that bottom arm's on a huge angle. So definitely be lifting those points. I mean, they can go a long way up before it's close to the bottom of the chassis rail, and raise the motor up a bit. Anyway, it's not actually, the sump clearance isn't that bad, but I might as well raise it up. I probably do want this slightly lower anyway than what it is now. It's getting there, but I think I still want to come up. Probably come up with those points, probably at least 50 mil. So one thing I want to do to sort of work out the heights, well, not really, but I just want to be able to put a guard on there and see what it looks like. So you can see at the moment I've got a huge amount of camber gain because of that top arm being short. So the guard almost goes on there anyway because of how much camber it's got, but not quite. So here I'm going to cut the guard, which I don't really want to have to do. Well, I mean, I have to do it. It seems wrong to chop up a reasonable guard. It's not too bad. This here, for some reason, is in two pieces. I thought it was actually bolted, but it's spot welded together, but that seam's quite rusty, so I'll probably end up cutting those two returns off and welding those two bits together. But for now, I've just marked out that I don't know what I'm going to do exactly with the guards, whether what I'll do with the flares or not, whether I want to try and flare the whole guard itself or whether I just want to do like a bolt-on style flare. I'll probably do them out of steel, not bolt-on, but this is quite unique, the shape of this guard, so I don't know if I'm going to try and keep it or not, or whether I can try and keep it. So for now, I've got these lines marked out. They're parallel to each other. So hopefully once I cut that section out, I can just move it up and keep the wheel arch, and it will technically leave only a mil or so gap either side. I'll cut it through here and here. Obviously there's going to be a big section here that needs tidying and joining somehow, but I'll look at how I'm going to do that later. But at least if I cut that guard out, I can sit it on there and see what it looks like. So that's that guard sitting back on there. You can see that if I wanted to, I could just weld that section back in. Like I say, I still don't know quite what I'm going to do with that, but it's awesome to be able to stand back and look, see what it's going to kind of end up looking like with the guard and the wheel on there. Pretty sweet. I think still probably needs to go lower, but it's getting there. Definitely getting there. I think another 40-50 mil would be pretty on. I think I'm just going to trim the top of this off now, so I can kind of get a rough idea of how that's going to look a bit more. It's marked across the very top edge of the guard there, so I'll come over to my little hand guillotine. This thing's awesome. Cutting sheet metal. I'll just do a rough cut along there because it doesn't really matter anyway. It's easy and quiet and doesn't make a mess. You have to be a bit careful of it warping slightly as you cut when you're trying to cut a bit of a shaped panel, but again, it really doesn't matter for this because I possibly won't even end up using this anyway. like I say, that's pretty sweet. I'm loving the way that looks. I just think it needs a little bit more low, and obviously a whole lot less camber and a pumped out guard. It'll be looking sweet. So here's my drawing of rough layout of the front suspension geometry. Sorry, there's dimensions all over the place, but you can see that tyre height's 680, width is 260, the points between the top and bottom arms 735 and 535, bottom arms 350 long, top arms 215 long. Points are pretty much on the edge of the inner edge of the rim at the bottom, 50mm in from the rim at the top. So I mean, technically if I wanted to get more into it, I could draw the hub and stuff. They're 160 and 105 above and below the center of the wheel. So yeah, that's all pretty much done. Now I've drawn in the chassis rail. It's probably quite hard to tell because there's crap everywhere, but drawn in the chassis rails on both sides here, so I can see that I'm way lower and way further out than the chassis rail. So technically I could move this point up a lot and move this point in a lot, which would make it the geometry a lot better. So what I can do is I can copy and paste this. I'll just get rid of these dimensions. I can probably copy and paste this over here and have a play and change some stuff on this. Now the joy of this is I've got this point here, which is 105 mil off the ground, which is as I had it sitting, the ride height sitting. So the awesome part about this, and I've only just learned this type of stuff just from watching YouTube videos, that I can actually, the way this is all drawn with all those dimensions and having this curve and bits and pieces on the bottom of the tire, I can take this point, I should be able to take that point, and drag it up and down and see the suspension travel and look at the camber gain. Sorry, I've got a frog in my throat. So I can watch what the wheel is going to do through the suspension travel. So obviously if the vehicle was a whole lot higher up here, it wouldn't be as bad. Still got a lot of gain even though it's all standard, the geometry. So up here it's probably designed to be way up here somewhere, which isn't too bad, but way down here it's horrific. So what I can do is, like I said, I'll copy and paste this whole drawing. I'm pretty sure I can without having to change all of them. Well, I could just go in here to my dimensions and move those points in and those points up and lengthen this arm, but I'll just try and leave this as it is and do another one, and hopefully it works and we can have a look at the camber gain and bits and pieces once I've done that, and hopefully, well, I'm 99% sure it'll be better, and with these points up I can gain more ground clearance and hopefully be somewhere way down here. So that did work, worked out well. There's a line there that on this drawing is fixed to the background, so that is obviously what holds the wheels in place. So once I'd moved it and then I was trying to adjust this, the whole picture was moving rather than these staying attached to that line, so I just had to refix that line and then it all worked out. So it's good. I'm slowly learning about how all this drawing stuff works. So what I've done is I have moved those points in by 50mm aside. So I've taken 100mm off that dimension. I've added 50mm to the length of the top arms, and I've moved the chassis, or this doesn't actually matter to this drawing at all because all I've done is move these boxes, but they still move up and down off the ground anyway. But at least I know that how much clearance, once I draw it properly, how much clearance I'm going to have between the arm and the edge of the chassis, but I think that's not going to be a problem, so that's fine. So yeah, that worked well. I will get rid of the dimensions here. I've just put this line in here, which is a vertical line on each of the drawings, so you can kind of see. This point here is still 105 off the ground on both points. So you can see here that at that 105 point, we've got 5.4 degrees of camber on this picture. And then if I go over to this one, I can't actually put the dimension in there because it locks that whole movement. If I try to add a dimension in here, that dimension won't change. So as I go up and down, it just doesn't work. So I just have to take a measurement after I've done the drawing. So that's sitting at 3.9 degrees. So it hasn't made a huge difference. It's definitely helped, but it still has a reasonable amount of camber. But it definitely is better. And if I go up, you know, that's, again, I can't exactly measure it, but go up to there, it's pretty much got no camber, and that height is now 150. So I've only gone up 50 mil, and it's practically got no camber. So it still has a reasonable amount of camber gain. At that point, but it's not too bad. I could play around. I mean, I'm stuck here because this is obviously the point on the hub. So the only other way to get it better is lengthen this arm more. I probably could come into maybe the edge of the chassis rail. At the moment, I'm still 50 mil, I think. What was I? I was 90. Now I will be still 40 mil, yeah, still 40 mil off the inside edge of the chassis rail to that point, which is pretty much over the centre of the chassis rail. So I don't know, I'm pretty happy with that point. I don't know if I want to move it in any further. But yeah, that's good. I think I'm probably happy with that. It depends on whether LVV is happy with that, but to be fair, with the airbag kit, like car that I just did, they didn't really care about any of this. They just checked what the suspension was like at what you tell them ride height is. So you're sort of parked up and aired out way down here somewhere. They don't seem to care about, because obviously you're going to have a whole lot of issues with your geometry anyway. So I think it's fine. I think it's going to be okay. And it's going to make all of this a lot tidier around the mountings and what have you of the chassis. Yeah, so I think I'll probably go and start trying to draw that stuff up 3D. If I go into here, I have my chassis rails drawn up. So I can now go and input all of that stuff into the chassis rails, draw it all up properly in 3D now that I know it's sort of going to work. And then I can also show you, in amongst all the garbage that I've drawn while I've been trying to learn, I don't know why none of the stuff's in order, but I'll get there eventually. I can probably, I don't know, maybe you can go and change the, here we go. So I can upload this. It's probably going to take a while because it's quite a big drawing. There. Now this is my initial rear end that I had to play with. This took me a long time to get my head around. There's a bunch of joints in here that let different parts move in different ways. So I've managed to sort of learn how to do that stuff. Like I said, none of this is to scale or suited to the ute at all. I just sort of randomly drew some chassis rails on a diff tube and came up with this design. Hopefully, if I do this, it will let me. Yeah. So that's how that works. So those are obviously rose joints. This is a shock absorber. I guess, I mean, I don't know if I could draw the airbag as such. You can probably add a spring into that. But for now, that's alright as it is. Shows the motion of how the falling's working and how that rocker suspension setup that I want to do would work in the rear. Again, I don't know if this is exactly what it's going to look like. This may all be on the inside edge of the chassis rail. I mean, a lot of people do put those on an angle and have the shocks running sort of more to the centre. I quite like it being parallel with the chassis rail, so yeah, it's pretty wicked in this program that you can do that. Oh, now I've turned it inside out. Now I've wrecked it. I've absolutely wrecked it. I can probably grab this point, hopefully, and move it there. Yep, there we go. So this is exactly the same as what I'll draw in the front. Draw up my front. There we go. Draw up my front arms. Draw up the rocker, the shock, and yeah, hopefully it all works out. Pretty sweet. Ciao.